Most of the revenue comes from your sponsors, and in previous years the BCS system has had a large number of sponsors, just cast sort of as wide a net as possible, including the specific bowl named sponsors. My name is Randy Grant. I'm a professor of economics here at Linfield College. I teach the economics of sports, history of economic thought, macroeconomics, and principles of economics, and have recently released the second edition of the Economics of Intercollegiate Sports, a textbook on college sports that I co-author. It's hard to narrow it down to three things that people should know, but the first thing people should know is that it is going to be a big economic event in the sense that it's going to provide a big revenue boost from the past system. The conferences are divided into what are called the Power 5 conferences and the Group of 5, which are those that are on the outside, formerly BCS qualifiers versus non-qualifiers. And the Power 5 conferences, their revenues are going to rise from $27 million per year roughly to $50 million per year. Now that gets spread among the teams in the conference, but that's a significant boost in revenue. The Group of 5 conferences will also see a boost in revenue, but not as substantial. That ties into the second thing that people should know, is that even though there's this rising tide that should lift all boats, the gap between the haves and the have-nots is going to increase. And that has implications for how well those in the Group of 5, the have-nots, are going to be able to compete with the Power 5 conference schools. At the extreme, an implication of this could be that schools on the outside choose to go the direction that University of Alabama Birmingham recently went, and that is to shut down their football program. The folks in the NCAA and the playoff system claim that that's not going to happen, don't see that as a likely consequence, but realistically, as some of these schools find themselves less able to keep up competitively, they may decide that financially it's not worth the expense. So that would be the second thing. A third question that comes to mind is, what's sort of the future of this college football playoff system? And, you know, sponsors are hoping that it becomes something on the magnitude of March Madness or the Super Bowl. And realistically, it's not going to be the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl has a global reach that the U.S. college sports simply does not. But it may well become as big as something like a March Madness. The more incremental question at the moment is just how big will the playoff system itself become? And the current discussion has it may be expanding in the near future to 6 teams or 8 teams. Others have more ambitious aspirations for it and are thinking of a 16-team field or maybe even larger, something that more closely approximates the March Madness type numbers. There's a real challenge in that in terms of finding the right number of teams so that the regular season is still relevant, but that you don't, but that you also don't oversaturate viewers with playoff games. Because one of the downsides we've seen this year of the new system is that bowls that are not part of the playoff system have seen decline in the ratings. So even though the semifinal games, the Rose Bowl and Sugar Bowl, earned ratings that compared with previous year's national championship games and were the highest rated cable shows ever, bowls like the Orange Bowl, which has been a traditionally popular game, has seen some of its lowest ratings. And so there's a question of how much substitution is going to happen between the playoff games and the other bowls. Some of these bowls may get folded into the playoff system, be added to it if the number of teams expands. Others may simply fall by the wayside.